Good evening, guys. How you doing? Welcome to the Monday review show. It's going to be a little bit different today, as you can see. For starters, not in the studio. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. I think the reality of the situation is hitting everyone in all sorts of areas, and so I'll be doing the show tonight. It'll probably be in two parts. So the first half an hour or 45 minutes or so, we'll do it from here on Facebook, and then we'll move over to Instagram and do a little bit of a face-to-face Q&A because it's a pretty good platform there and easy to get in touch with everyone. But I hope you're all okay. I hope everyone's not too scared or not too panicked. You know, sending my thoughts out to everyone who's been affected. I think we're only really going to start seeing the beginning of the reality that is this situation. You know, people are losing their jobs as early as today. I've got friends in China. I've got friends in Norway. Best mate in Norway lost his job as well. And you know, so it's tough for everyone. So I am sending my thoughts out to everyone doing it tough. And you know, the purpose of tonight really is to just share those thoughts together. You know, Carlton fans alike, and if you're not a Carlton fan, welcome anyway, Matty. You know, yeah, want to obviously have a chat with everyone, gather everyone's thoughts. We're all doing it tough in different ways, and really just talk a little bit about the future of the channel and how it's going to work out. And really, I want this. I'll spend the first 10 or 15 minutes talking, and then I want to go back and forth with you guys. So, again, good evening. I think for me, I knew it was coming. There was a reality to this. I knew watching the game on Thursday night that it could be and probably would be the last game that we'd watch the boys play for. In my mind, I don't think we'll play this season at all, and that's sort of what I've prepared for mentally. And so there was a real buzz around me and electricity. I was pacing up and down and sweating, and the heart rate was raised because I really did treat it like a final, and I was just buzzing throughout the day. And then really got involved. Really got involved on the Friday game and the Saturday. It was great to have a full day of footy, and I was super grateful for that. And then Sunday, once the announcement came, and again, we all knew it was coming at some point. But for me, when the announcement came, it just whack, and I just realised, all right, it's here, and just the state of shock, and it's just sadness, overall sadness. You know, it's part of our livelihood. It's part of our identity here, and you know, for me personally, one of the big key reasons for coming home was to cover the season and to cover the club, and you know, when you get that sort of taken away, there's just a harsh reality. More than any other tough time that I've ever really felt. This is, you know, globally, this is massive, and part of me is obviously very shocked and saddened. Part of me is excited, you know, because of the fact that this will be a test of humanity. This will be a test of each and every one of us. How are we going to be able to adjust? Who's going to create the opportunities? And so I've seen it from both lenses. But the last 24 hours have been a real tough struggle. Yeah, you know, I'm not a religious person, but in a way, Carlton and footy is my religion. And so I'm sure those sentiments are shared throughout the audience. And, you know, we're all going to have to change things up a little bit. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be tough. But you know, that's what this bloody country was built on, a little bit of elbow grease. So we'll be okay. As for the future of the channel, you know, the show goes on, really. Obviously, we won't be doing any previews and reviews and you know, player ratings. But the purpose of the channel, I really want to open it up a little bit. You know, we've built up a solid community here. I'm super grateful and super proud of that. And you know, I really want to. I've sort of been hypothesizing over the last few days, like, what can I do? How can I help? There's a platform here. How do I use it? So I'm in that stage now where I'm trying to think of the best way that I can use this for greater good. And so, you know, I'm very much open for any collaborations that anyone can think of, whether it's with other pages, whether it's with yourself. Definitely will be a video hub for all things Carlton, whether it's previous games, whether it's highlights. We've got a whole bunch of ideas coming. There's AFL Evolution that's going to come out. There'll be a bunch of that coming out. I'm not sure if anyone here is into the gaming scene, but yeah, a lot of that. And really, I just want to work together. I want to work together with people. I think this is the beautiful time where Wilder, you've said it great here. Back to the old values, really working together, and it's almost like a reset. And so I'm looking forward to that. All your suggestions are welcome. Thank you very much to everyone who has reached out and sent a message and had a chat and just thrown some ideas my way. After this, I will. I will make a post as well. What I want to do is just have a community board, I guess, for anyone out there who's got a small business or any company that's who provides services remotely or digitally, just to give you a chance to sort of promote yourself, I guess, and obviously I want to help the Carlton community. But if there's non-Carlton people here, happy to lend a hand out there too. So the idea is, if you do provide a service that can be done remotely, the idea is to have a chance to place that service on the post that I'll make after the video. And obviously, please consider a really good discount. Obviously, something that helps both your business and the people you're giving the service to. I feel like that's the first thing that came to my mind is that, and we're going to have to really rely on that community spirit. And so that's really where I see the future of the channel. But yeah, the show will go on. There's plenty to talk about, and it's not hard to talk about Carlton at all for me. And I'm sure it's not hard to watch anything Carlton related for you guys as well. I'll say good evening to a whole bunch of you here. Kano, John Muratidis, good evening. Wildy again. Hayden, good evening to you, mate. Rob, good evening to you. Dane, Josh, Simon. If you're in the audience, I'm going to try and get to every single comment tonight. Adam Horton, good evening to you, mate. Anth Busiello. This will be really a Q&A just for you guys. Touch on any themes and issues you want to talk about. I've got a few here just to get us going. We'll start with this is one that I have on my agenda here, the memberships. Now, this is a touchy situation. Obviously, some people are in certain financial hardships. Many people are going to be in financial hardships. The clubs are obviously struggling as it is. I was listening to SEN earlier today, and I think Terry Wallace was on, and he was talking about how he did the numbers, and we're looking at a minimum $1 billion loss of revenue as a league. And when you see the reports about the Brisbane Lions players who have been stood down without pay, and the staff and Collingwood staff, it's a big hit. When you look at the Fox Sports journalists who have just been let off as well. My take on the membership is, look, financial hardships are hitting everyone, myself included. I mean, I won't be asking for my membership money back as a refund. I can understand that there are people who need that instant sort of, if you're paying $1,200 for a reserve seat, the full membership. I can understand that might be tough, no matter what you're paying really. If you need access to funds right now, I can definitely understand the notion of needing that support and needing that help. I guess from my point of view, I would just be saying, if you are one of those people who can do without the membership money and understand that it's going towards the future of the club, that would be great as well. And Wilder, you've nailed it here. Your membership's a donation. I think a lot of people will do that. A lot of people won't. I will say, don't chastise people who are asking for a refund. I think everyone's situation is different, and if there's one thing this whole situation's taught me, is we need to be very empathetic for everyone's situation, because we all react to things differently. As you can just see, we just had a round of footy. So many different opinions come and go. There's ones that you agree with and ones you disagree with, and that's the beauty of being different and thinking different. So yeah, Eddie, thanks to you, mate. Thanks for this intro to the season. Love the insight. Shadow, but life goes on. Keep going with something, because I think we need stimulation. Yeah, there'll be plenty. There will be plenty. John Muratidis. We sat through the dark depths of Bolton, Malthouse and Pagan years so we can easily make it through this pandemic. I agree, mate. 100%. Guys, we sat through a 2-win season in 2018. I think we'll be all right. There are positives for our club, especially with the playing group for this situation. Charlie, Harry, Cruiser, Mitch McGovern get absolutely on top of their fitness. Eddie Betts. I did watch the game again, and yes, we did get smashed, but I think the opportunities we created for ourselves were there. It just felt like we didn't have those forwards to take those marks inside 50 that perhaps they would have taken. So yeah, I think it's going to be a positive for the group. I don't know where you guys sit. I guess I'll put it out to you. Where do you sit with um, the break for the players, and do you look at it as a positive for the guys who are injured? Very interested to hear your thoughts. Michael Howell, my heart goes out to all that have lost their jobs. Our footy club needs our support more than ever before. The last thing we want is to not have one at the end of all of this. Anyone that can afford to sign up, I would encourage to do so. Go Baggers, 100%, 100%. I feel you there. Jimmy, my man, hard times ahead, not being able to stir that Essendon pot and not being able to see their supporters lose it on Facebook. RIP, Jim. No, it's great. On the plus side, mate, we know that we're going to get an X amount of days more with no Essendon finals win, so that's fantastic. Hayden spoke to Ben Rutten yesterday. It's going to be tough for every club. Yeah, mate, absolutely. Matty Dirks won't be asking for a refund. Mine's already cooked in the microwave. He's had enough. Dan, good evening to you, mate. We'll be chatting to you later on Instagram. He's lost his job, and his mentality on it is that he purchased it up front with his disposable income at the time, but anyone who pays monthly totally understand it's tough times. Yeah. Adam Horn, I don't want a refund just to stop any more payments coming out for the next few months. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's I can understand that. Wildy, again, we've been through hell for 20 years. What's another 3 months? Good on you, mate. Good on you. Cruiser does play round 2, Hayden. It's going to be a shock comeback for Cruz and Charlie in round 2 or 3, according to Kano. Yeah, some good points coming there. The next one I saw was a really interesting one, and it was the draft pick conversation. I can't remember who. I remember hearing a caller on Thursday morning, call up and ask about it, and it was a fascinating discussion on SEN. And I wanted to get your thoughts. How do you give a draft pick out for next year? Let's just say, even if we do continue with the season this year, it is going to be somewhat shortened. I find it really tough to know how do you nominate who gets the number one pick. Do you just the Gold Coast were obviously a little bit tough last year, and they're probably not going to be the best side this year. But a team like the Western Bulldogs, if this is the end of the AFL season in 2020, do they get pick 2 or 3? It's going to be a bit of a shit show there. Is it a lottery system? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that and read through them. Dan, I think it could be a benefit. The footy club do set research on tactical information for them to learn. So 3 months allows them to really focus on that. Once training resumes, they'll be in great mindsets, gives them a decent amount of time to reflect on the errors of round 1. Yeah, no doubt about that. I think the other thing with the break, there's sort of a split into 2 for me. On the one hand, you've got an extra 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is. The guys get to freshen up their minds. They've just done a pre-season, so they're going to be pretty flat in that regard. They're going to get to build on their skills, and when there is a moment in time where footy will return, we know that they'll be able to do another sort of pre-season, get their bodies in shape. And for those guys who are a little smaller and a little bit inexperienced, it gives them another opportunity to add some more size. Like a Tom DeConning, I can imagine being a bit of a gym rat. Hopefully he's got a home gym, but you get what I'm saying, where he can be a little bit more of a gym rat, add another kilo or maybe 2 kilos of muscle onto his frame. And, because there are quite a few players on our list, in my opinion, who need to put on some size and need to have some strength. I think that's one of the key reasons why we weren't able to win the contest, with the ferocity that Richmond were able to do. And, it was tough. And that was the stark thing that stood out for me. We just weren't as hard as Richmond. And I want us to be a tough, hard, unsociable football club. I want us to be relentless. I think we all do. So, yeah. A few more comments coming through. Scotty Gawley pays his monthly and the club is welcome to it. My family will survive and so will I as long as I have my club. Yeah, I feel you, Scotty. I really feel that comment there. The other thing as well, I think what we'll realise with this situation is how much we don't actually need. We live a very, very good life here in Australia, and even though those who do it a little tougher than others financially, those who might be on Centrelink, for example, we have those systems in place. I've been to parts of the world and I've seen parts of the world. I've been to Palestinian cities, for example, where it's just so far away from liberty as we know it. And, a travel ban is the least of their worries. I did some time in the Philippines late last year, and I was living the island life for a couple of weeks, and I really realized, like, hey, we don't really need all these flashy things that we use. You know, the watches, the bracelets, the jewelry, the branded clothing, all of that. We don't really need all of that. So in a sense, it was a bit of a preparation for this without even realizing it. Anthony Busiello, sorry for everyone going through a tough time. Just a suggestion, Tez. You could review the previous seasons from Carlton, talk about their performance during this pandemic. Cheers. Yeah, thanks, mate. There'll be a lot of looking back, and there'll be a lot of reviewing games that have happened. I'm starting to compile all of that at the moment, and that'll definitely be something to do because gonna have to watch something, and who knows, we might find some little nuggets there of some players who we potentially thought weren't doing very well, who maybe are going on the right track. And I started looking at the 2017 game against the GWS Giants where we shocked them and won, and things like that. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Matty, hey brother, love the show page. I know it's all a little bit crazy at the moment, but we have to be proud of our own common medal winner in Jack Martin. What a season debut. Absolutely we do. Jack Martin put on a masterclass. I had him as my three. I mean, I did my votes as a 3, 2, and 1 as I usually do. I had this guy as the best player for us. I looked at it more from the point of, all right, everyone's got their role, and how did you perform your role? I thought Jack Martin did his role and played it to perfection. You could argue that he didn't do anything until the second half, but really the fight back came from him. You know, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if we cut it back to the way we did. And the ferocity at the ball, you know, he got enough of the ball, he won enough of the ball, he kicked his goals, took his chances, he went above and beyond, and I really did give him the 3 votes. I'm keen to listen to you guys and read your comments on who you thought was our best. But I gave Jack Martin the 2. I might as well finish my votes now. I gave this fella, I should say, I gave Jacob Wiedering the 2 votes. Again, looking at the roles that were played, and we know what Jacob's role was on Tom Lynch, and we know the gravity of what Tom Lynch can do to us and what he has done to us in the past. And we also know how quickly that ball was coming into that Richmond forward line. And to keep Tom Lynch goalless, to keep him markless, was a phenomenal effort for me. And that's why I gave him the 2 votes. And I've slipped it there, but the 1 vote I gave to Levi Casbolt, again, Cruiser goes down. What is the role that Levi has to play? Well, he's totally got to shift whatever preparation he had for playing as a forward. And I'm sure he wasn't preparing to play as a full-time ruck, but he had to. I thought he did it perfectly. I thought he competed well. I thought he went forward and took his marks well. He kicked his 2 goals, got his hit-outs. He went back and took marks in defence. And for me, he was fantastic. Cripps was obviously really good. I thought he butchered the ball a little bit in the first quarter, and it wasn't as clean as what we've come to see of him, but that fourth quarter was really Herculean. So from that point, I did have Cripps there or thereabouts, but he couldn't make the 3. So I did give the 3 to Martin, 2 to Wiedering, and 1 to Levi Casbolt. But please leave your comments with your votes, your 3, your 2, and your 1, and I'd love to compare. Back to the comments. Dane, take a combination of total wins last 2 seasons. Least wins gets the first pick. Most wins gets the 18th pick. I think that is the most logical suggestion right there, knowing that we don't do a lottery system. But I do like that. Dan's got one. He imagines that they're going to follow the NBA, MLS, MLB, and NFL, who have a plan that is based on the last 24 months. Then a lottery ensures to cope with the variables. Absolutely. Anthony Busiello again. How was Doc and Cripps in round 1? I thought they were pretty solid. Doherty was pretty special. He for a guy that had been out for so long, and it's a story that's really going unnoticed. We didn't see much of him, and it's like he slotted straight in there. So there you go. And this is the other little positive as well. All of a sudden, the Brody Kemp draft pick has been a masterclass because we're not gonna miss him too much in terms of the games that he'll miss. Particularly if this season doesn't end up going ahead. So that's an interesting one. Kano's going to write some talking points down for the Instagram Live, so you'll talk to me then. Good on you, Kano. Looking forward to that. So, yeah, basically this will be just me talking to you guys. It's a little bit trickier and a little bit easier on Instagram to get people on video. So at 8 o'clock, we'll jump on Instagram. I'll get Dan on. because everyone wants to talk to their favourite POM, as do I, and chat to as many of you who are on Instagram. But I know a lot of you who are on Facebook are predominantly just on Facebook, so it's good to be able to chat and have those different audiences to speak to. Dane Rawlings, Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell coming back to Victoria. Mr. Austin needs to live 1.5 metres from them for the next 3 months. I like that. I like that a lot. John Muratiti's talking about my comment before about putting on size. Some of the players need to put on bulk. Dusty was bullying. You're right, and I thought he was too. And I thought he did the right thing, the way he attacked Murphy. And yeah, I don't like to see it because Murphy's our guy, and I love Mark Murphy. But if I was a Richmond supporter, I would have loved seeing Dustin Martin get into Mark Murphy. And I didn't like that our players didn't fly the flag a little bit for Murphy. I understand the situation. I understand it was a weird game, weird situation, but it was also a weird situation for Richmond, and they showed us exactly how to go about it. Josh Lofts, we will all be able to get through this. We have the support behind us. Heart goes out to everyone struggling, but hopefully you guys get through it. This club will survive with our support, and we'll be back better than ever. Oh, spot on, mate. I think we're one of the lucky clubs, and this is something we need to be grateful for. We're one of the big Melbourne clubs who are financially in a better position than a lot of other clubs in the league. And so I think I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. We've got a big supporter base, and I'm sure when the time comes, we'll all dig deep when we can and help the club get back on track and help our staff members get back on track. I mean, I thought our media team did a fantastic job, especially with the AFLW content and really that preseason content for the men as well. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know what their situation is with their jobs, but I can only assume it's grim. And for that, I definitely want to give a shout out to all the media members and even the other staff, off-field staff, those who do the game day things. And I think that's very important. Rafi Kerben, I think what a lot of people will realise is that they used footy to connect with the family. I bet there will be some families trying to fill time together. Yeah, for sure. For sure. We're going to have to look to the past. I've always been someone that looks to the future. But in terms of Carlton content and Carlton videos, it's going to have to be a little bit of looking back. So, yeah. Hayden Wall, friends losing jobs now. It's time to take stock with family, but we'll miss footy. Yep, absolutely. It's time for us to all stick together. Dan, my take on this and what makes me feel safe and secure is that look at our spirit during the fires. As a plastic Aussie, that makes me proud to be a pretend Australian. Let's remember that and how strong we are as a community. It's important in this tough period to remember how great we are when we're good. Look, mate, first of all, you are a real Aussie. Yes, you might have a bit of an accent, but I think you've been completely indoctrinated now. So, yeah, it's a good point. Kano, thoughts on people on this? Whose game stood out, Doc or Martin? I think the gravity of Doc's game and the fact that he came back, obviously it stood out and we missed him. And the shock value of Martin coming in, we sort of thought he could play like that, but to see him put it all together so early in the season was great. And so, yeah. Turnovers, though, 100%. That was tough. And this one's the big one. This one is the big one. I'm pissed at 23 tackles for the whole game. That's lazy defense and work rate. It is. I don't want to make excuses for them because Richmond tapped the ball a lot. The ball in a contest, when the tackles were there to be made, they were tapping the ball on, and they do that very, very well. I watched that game the next morning again, and I did notice it very clearly, but, no excuse. 23 tackles. I think 9 players had 0 tackles. So, yeah, I agree with you, Wildy. That's just not good enough. And I think we would have beaten the Doggies this week, mate. They were weak, mentally weak. They didn't even put up a fight against Collingwood. Justin Ryland, g'day, mate. Are you going to reach out to the club for more interviews, possibly over Skype? Yep, definitely already done that. Hoping to hear back from them. That would be great if we could chat to some players through video calls and have them involved in maybe some of these shows. That would be cool, but I understand they've got a lot on their mind currently. So yeah, but if you'd like to see that, I think that'd be a pretty cool idea. Michael Howell, how good was Doc? I nearly gave him the 3 votes. Missed 2 years of footy and was like he never left. 100%, mate. Eddie, I'm having a mad Monday by myself in the man cave with some chicken wings and some red wine. Look after yourself and your families, baggers. Tough times ahead. Good on you, mate. Jack Plumbridge, good evening to you. You love Jack Martin's game. On you, mate. Mark, contested mark, my man. Take away the start of that Richmond game. We had that game on our terms. Got to stop the bad habits of starting slow and start getting off to a flyer simple. Yeah, good point. I think we play a very reactive game. I think we play very reactive. We wait to get punched, and then we counter and go from there. And that's not a sign of a good club. The good clubs are the ones that can dictate play. And so we're just not there yet. So definitely something to work off. I think that's a really good point. Scotty says that forgetting the fact that Martin did well to find space, but bear in mind the boys who had the smarts to keep their eyes low to find him. Delivery was terrific in the second half. It sure was. I was writing notes, and it took until it was something like 7 minutes to go in the second quarter before we had the first situation where someone actually lowered their eyes and hit up a target, and it was Cripps to Jack Martin, who actually did miss the set shot in the second quarter, but that was the first time we actually learned, like, oh, okay, kicking a balloon in the air as high as we can is not the way to play against Richmond. So that's a really good point. Wowdy had, I'm getting through to your 3, 2, and 1 at the moment. So Wowdy had Martin, Weeders, and Casbolt as his best, with apologies to SBS, Doc, and Cripper. Anthony Busiello had Wiedering for 1 vote, Doherty for 2, and Cripps for 3. Dane had Martin for 3, Doc for 2, Wiedering for 1. Love that. Dan, 9 tackles in the first half. 1 in 10 pressure acts resulting in a tackle versus Richmond's 1 in 4. 1 in 10 of Richmond's tackles resulted in a turnover. Now that is impressive. One thing we've got to do as a club is implement our game style from the bounce. They are so strong when they are on. We need to be more unsociable from the start. Our best is miles away from our best in the last 2 years, but our worst is the same. Good point, mate. Good point. Ollie Wines, I don't know if he's going to be coming with this situation at the moment. Scott reckons that JSOS played a blinder for mine. He took it on himself to play the big man's role and did it well. I agree. I think what will get forgotten about his game, there were 2 goals that were really taken away from him. So I think it was in the first quarter, or in the second quarter, I should say. He was awarded a free kick. It was about 15 or 20 metres out from goal, and David Cunningham ran on and kicked a goal with it was a play on advantage situation. And the next one, I think it was in the third quarter, Jack took a mark inside 50, again, about 20, 25 metres out directly in front, but Jack Martin got a free kick. So you add those 2 set shots to the 2 goals he already had. Let's just say he kicks one of those 2. You know, he's up for a 3-goal game, and yeah, I did think he went pretty well. And one of those games where his stats didn't look too flashy, but he did enough for me. Jack Plumbridge is shattered to see Cruiser go down with that injury. That was sickening. It's sickening that we as supporters are just used to this happening. It was, I was saying it in the pre-game. I was saying it in the season preview. We're probably going to get 15 games out of Cruz. He's probably going to be rested because he'll be sore. So that's the mindset of us going into games for Cruiser, and to see the way he got injured again. And to see, I think it was Tony Sheehan who posted something on Twitter about having to get him a shrink to work on the mental side of his game. Oof, absolute furphy from him. That was shocking. One thing you can't question about Matthew Cruiser, in my opinion anyway, is his heart and his mental preparation and his mental strength to get to contest after contest. So I thought that was really poor from Tony Sheehan. Where are we? Did anyone notice that Dustin Martin tried that bully crap on Patrick Cripps and got sat square on his ass? I didn't see that, but I'm definitely going to go and try and find that for sure. Nigel Appleboom. If the draft recruiting team knew Paddy Dow would become the 3rd worst kick in the competition halfway through his 2nd year, as rated by Champion Data, and Lockie O'Brien wouldn't even be getting a game in round 1 this year, they'd still take them at pick 3 and pick 10 respectively. Well, probably not, but it's so hard to... it's easy for us to look back now and say you shouldn't have picked him. But if you go through that entire draft class, it's not a very good draft at all. Now, Paddy had his struggles. He didn't physically impose himself at all, which is my most concerning thing. He still looks like a little bit of a deer in the headlights. He rushes things. He doesn't think his way through. He looks a little lost at times, but the physicality for me, and it was interesting because his preseason was predicated on losing weight and adding running power and leaning up. Where I wasn't sure about that because I didn't feel like he had developed a strength in the contest yet, and he's someone that wants to break out of contests. So I don't know what's happened there. It is only one game, and unfortunately, it's going to be the one game that we get to see from Paddy Dow for a long time. So it's going to leave that sour taste in the mouth. But yeah, it wasn't a very good game for him, and I don't know if if he would have played next week. Heath Buck, g'day to you, mate. This forced hiatus will make us so much stronger in every way. I honestly believe that. Keep strong. Speak later. Good on you, mate. And Heath had if you haven't checked out his post-game review, go on YouTube after this and check it out. He was actually at the game, working for K-Rock as he does. And I thought it was a fantastic recap. We're very raw and can only imagine what the experience would have been like to be at that game. And that's probably something you'll remember for the rest of your life. No doubt about that, as I sent you that message after and told you. Anthony Busciello, round one game, 1 vote, Big Doc, 2 to Jack Martin and 3 to Cripps. He had 31 disposals. I reckon Doc found his prime. Interesting call, mate. Thank you for that. Matty Bem, no one seems to be talking about SPS's game. I thought he was brilliant off halfback. Efficiency was really good. I reckon halfback is his position. Good call. He was very good. You can tell that he's definitely gone up another level in his ability. He looks a lot more filled out. He looks good in traffic. 89% efficiency. I think he had the 19 touches. Could be wrong on that. But he's obviously underdone a little bit as well because he missed a bit of the preseason towards the end. I totally agree in halfback being his position. I also would argue that there is a spot for him in the midfield because I think that's where he's going to want. That's where we drafted him, and that's where I think he's going to do some serious damage because I always look at him as someone who I want kicking the ball inside 50 because he's just so clean and so composed, and I really did enjoy his game too. Darren Manser from a very small town in Naracoorte, South Australia. Love your work. Thanks, mate. Thanks for the support. Really appreciate it. Dan, our inside 50 entry was like my dating ability during uni. Just a game of numbers until one says yes. It's a good call. Very good call. Chris Barada, good evening to you. You thought Jack Noons wasn't as bad as many Blue supporters thought. His goal was a ripper. His goal was a ripper. I thought it probably saved his game, to be honest. I thought he made some errors with his disposal, but followed it up with some serious tackling pressure, which he sort of evened it out. And that's how I saw his game. Michael Howe, he feels for the girls. What a ripper season from them. Was so looking forward to next week. Can't believe I haven't spoken about the girls. They were so impressive on the weekend. I watched their game over the North Melbourne St Kilda game. I'm obsessed. I'm completely converted. I love watching them. You've got to give it a few weeks to learn the names, and I'm starting to get there. But they play a hard brand of footy. They're very impressive. Obviously, we look at the women's game, and a lot of people look at the skill, and they talk about how it's not up to the men's standards. If you have that mindset, don't bother watching it. But having said that, for the women's competition, they move the ball so well. They're composed, they switch, and they're able to make in-game adjustments. And they play 4 quarters. They just keep going, and they're always challenged, but they always find a next gear to go to. So I really enjoyed watching them, and it is a shame because they were looking like, they had Freo to come and play up against, but I think they would have made the grand final again. And they just got a plethora of talent there. So really impressed. Dan's votes, 3 votes to Martin, 2 to Wiedering, 1 to Doc. If you told me at the start of the year that Wiedering would give the best forward in the comp a complete bath with bubbles and Jack Martin would tear it up in the forward 50 with 4 goals won, I would have said we won by 16. Have to maximise on our spine winning. Great call. Great call. Rafi says the girls would have won the premiership easy. That's my biggest disappointment. Totally agree with that. John Muratidis, Dow should be comfortable at senior level by now, but he looks way off. Yeah, I'm hoping it's just a one-game thing. But yeah, some of those contests really worried me as well, John. But I do back him in, but it's getting tough to sort of continue to do that. Sam, do you think we need to trade Dow? Doesn't work hard enough. Also, his shot for goal would be lucky to be at an Auskick level. Just a disgrace. You can't trade him. If you're looking at it practically, he hasn't really done anything to get value back, in my opinion. So it's easy to say just trade him, but I don't know if you're going to make a trade, I feel like you need to make sure you get something back, closest to, something as close to the value that what you're giving up. So I don't know if he's on the trade table. I think we need to persist with him. I think he's got to work through it. He's going through the real challenges of the game, and he's going to be a late bloomer if anything at all. So, but one thing I do want to see from him is a bit more desperation at the contest, because I did feel like that was lacking, and I can't give him the excuse of being young anymore or little, because Jack Martin is the same size. He's not much bigger than Paddy Dow. So, yeah. Dan, SPS got a lot of love in Analytics Corner. Great spot. Scotty Gawley, how good was Taylor's hit in the last? If you haven't seen Taylor Harris's bump, I highly suggest you do so, because she plays the game the way that we want our boys to play. Seriously. The way she attacks the ball, she's a presence. I really enjoy watching her play. Anthony, Danny's right about the inside 50s. We had 54 and the disposal efficiency was 69%. I reckon the girls would have won the grand final. Great call. Anthony Walsh, Dow's 50-meter penalty at the start of the game was a confidence killer. It was. It didn't start him very well, and you can just tell he's not a guy that can mentally break through a tough start. I remember Jacob Wiedering had some issues with that, but he ended up working his way through it. So, yeah. Chris Brighter, Daniel Harfer should be commended for his coaching. He has those girls playing great football, and I have no doubt they would have made another grand final. Totally agree. Dan, is that a start of a petition like the Freo fans did? It could be. Dan's take on Paddy Dow, that his talent is undoubted in training. He looks like solid, but in game he looks like he has more thoughts than the Dalai Lama. VFL will help him. Needs a 25-game 2 goals and he will be set. One thing I've realised and I forgot to talk about this in my review, when I was going to open training and watching them do their thing, I was making a lot of comments about Paddy Dow and how he was really playing well and breaking through tackles and whatnot. And then I realised how hard Richmond were attacking us and tackling us and putting the pressure on. And I realised we weren't applying that same amount of pressure to Paddy Dow in the preseason, because there is a level of, you want to go hard in preseason and how you train is how you play. But there is also a level of, I don't want to hurt you when I tackle you. Whereas when Richmond tackle, they want to hurt you. And so I think Dow might have slipped through the radar. Even Cunningham as well. I think they might have slipped through because they're teammates at the end of the day. They don't want to hurt each other. And it could be something to keep an eye on for pre-seasons to come when we get to go to more open trainings. But yeah, that was something I took out of that. Anyway, that is that. I'll leave it there. 7:30, short and sharp. Guys, like I said, thank you so much for your support throughout really the whole existence of the channel. I really do mean that, and the community that we've built here is something that I'm super proud of and super invested in. And for me, Blue Abroad is my outlet, and it's an outlet for a lot of people. I know Dan has really taken it on board, and there's a few others who are speak to me and talk about how it takes their mind off things. And again, I want to open up the doors to anybody who wants to work together. If you have any interest in creating some videos or putting some content out there or getting your thoughts out there or just having a creative outlet, definitely get in touch. I'd love to work together. I'd love to be able to provide some sort of a platform for anyone who wants to use it for good. And yeah, I can't thank you enough. Stay tuned. There'll be a lot more coming out. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're a subscriber. If you're on Facebook and you have a YouTube, make sure you're a subscriber as well. And we'll see you at 8 o'clock on Instagram for those who want to join in and have a chat face-to-face or through video. And go the Baggers. We'll be back soon. Cheers.